Want to skip the cold and the shopping lines? Then keep watching for some homemade gift ideas. For this project, we're going to create a recipe cake pan. I am using this lemon napkin and a cake pan that I got from a thrift store. So the reason I chose the lemon napkin is because the recipe I chose is lemon bread, and so they kind of went together. But you could use scrapbook paper here if you don't want to use a napkin. But all we're going to do is we're going to cut out the circle shape from our pan, and then we're going to use Mod Podge to apply our napkin. You can use Mod Podge to apply your scrapbook paper here as well, or if you wanted to use vinyl, like some buffalo check vinyl, or they have some really pretty like faux Pioneer Woman vinyl over at the Dollar Tree, that would work as well. So once I get it glued onto our pan, then we're going to go ahead and take our paintbrush with some more glue and go over the top to give it a really good hold. So I had some recipes that were written by family members, and I just used my copy function on my printer, and I just put it on the screen and made a copy of it. I made a color copy so that I could just then cut it out. I went ahead and traced it onto some brown craft paper just to give it a little bit more of a sturdiness behind it, since this is just copy paper. I'm using a glue stick, and I'm just going to glue my recipe onto the paper. Once I have it onto the paper, then I'm ready to attach it to my cake pan. So I'm going to go ahead and make a shabby bow first, and I'm just using ribbons that are matching my napkin. So I have yellow, white, and a blue polka dot. I believe these all came from Hobby Lobby. Then I'm just going to go ahead and tie that off in the middle, and I'm using twine this time for the middle, and I'm just going to go ahead and tie it into a knot here. So once we get it glued up to the top of our cake pan, I also went over the middle of it with a piece of the blue fabric just to cover up the twine. But there's a couple different ways that you could attach it here. I'm going to use a tumbling tower block from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue it so that it sticks up a little bit. You can also just glue it to the middle of the pan, or you could also use a clothespin, and that way you could change out the recipe if you wanted to. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue a clothespin here to the middle up towards the top of our ribbon. And then we're just going to attach our recipe here. The really fun part about this is it could just be an actual recipe holder for somebody, and they could hang this like in their kitchen over by where they're cooking, and they can rotate out the recipes. Or you can do like I did and use a family recipe, and then it makes a really cute decor piece. It's also vintage, so if you've got somebody who has like a vintage kitchen, this would go really well in a vintage kitchen. If you don't have any recipes that are like family recipes, you could also print some off online that look vintage even though they're not a family recipe. So I went ahead and added a button onto my clothespin, and then for the back I'm going to add some ribbon here for a hanger if you wanted to hang it. There's also a hole in the cake pan, and that might be able to be utilized as a hanger as well. And then also you wouldn't even have to use it as a hanger if you don't want to. You could also use it on a easel, but here it is styled for you guys. Let me know what you think about this one. For this project, we're also going to be using a recipe, and we're just going to take a picture frame. This one came from the Dollar Tree. You could use any picture frames that you have on hand, or you could pick up one like from the Dollar Tree like I did, or thrift stores are always selling these. So I took the glass out, and I'm using some white Waverly chalk paint, and I'm just going to go over the entire frame with the white chalk paint. Once that's dry, I am using the insert. I had used this for a different project, so it was already painted white on the inside there. You can skip that step if you don't want to put any paint on the inside, but this is another one of those recipes that I just printed off of my printer. I'm going to go ahead and glue it right to the wooden piece that goes into the frame, and then I have some more of these big buttons. these came from the Dollar Tree. I just picked out some colors that kind of went with the recipe card, and I'm just going to glue those up at the top of this like brown piece to give it, to like take up some of the space because my recipe was not as big as the cardboard piece. So once I have the buttons kind of arranged and glued on like I like, then I'm going to go ahead and just put that back into the frame. I'm going to add the glass first, and then I'm going to add my recipe. Now this becomes a little bulky because my buttons are kind of big, but it does go ahead and fit nicely into the frame. Now this can be used hanging or it can be used as an easel. So depending on where this, your person would like to display it. It can hang in the kitchen. It cannot go in the kitchen and just be a decor somewhere else. But I decided to add just a little bow at the top, just for a little fun on the outside of the frame. And I went ahead and matched that ribbon color to the buttons and the recipe card. So once I glue that up to the top, I'm going to put a button into the middle of our ribbon. And then this project is going to be complete. Let me know what you think about this one. So for our third project, this is going to be our last recipe type project, but we're going to go ahead and do the same kind of thing that we just did with the frame. We're just going to put a piece of scrapbook paper in this one. I really like the scrapbook paper because it kind of was vintage already and it kind of matched really well with the frame. We're just going to take a clothespin and glue it up to the top. So this is super easy. We're not going to add glass to this one. And then you can change out the recipe on this one if you want to, or you could just keep it the same. It also has the option of being hung up, or you could use it as an easel as well. I decided to go ahead and add a piece of ribbon into a bow at the top of our clothespin, just to kind of give a little bit of something to the clothespin. I am going to go ahead and kind of make sure that it is flattened out, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a button there into the middle of my ribbon. So these are definitely customizable. You could use any scrapbook paper you like. Hobby Lobby has such a large selection of scrapbook paper. You could also use tissue paper here. You could use really anything that you wanted to kind of match whatever recipe you're going with. And again, one other option, like if you don't have any recipes that are family recipes, I found these cookbooks at the used bookstore. They are old and vintage themselves, so you could cut out of there if you would like some recipes, and then you still get the vintage look, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a family recipe. But here it is styled for you guys. Let me know what you think about this one. Our next group of projects is going to be some wooden indoor games that you can create. I picked up these blocks, I believe, at Hobby Lobby, but you can also get them on Amazon as well. I will link all the links to these down in my description box, but we're just going to cover these wood blocks with some brown acrylic paint that's mixed with water. Then I'm using some stencils, and I'm going to just use some white Waverly chalk paint, and I'm going to stencil my X's and O's onto my wood blocks. So one tip for stenciling, make sure you have very little paint in your brush, especially when you're using these really small stencils. Sometimes they have a tendency to bleed, so you just want to be really careful with how much paint you have in your brush. But we're going to do an even number of X's and O's because if you haven't figured it out, we are making a tic-tac-toe board. So once we have all of our wood pieces together, I picked up this wood piece at Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to remove the hanging brackets on the back. It was supposed to be a frame. If you can't find the one at Hobby Lobby, they do have some options on Amazon as well. I just measured to get even lines here to make my tic-tac-toe lines, and then I'm just kind of putting some little dots there, and then I'm going to draw my lines. Once I got my lines drawn on there, I didn't really like how it looked, and I ended up having to go over it with some white paint. So just kind of be mindful. I liked this frame because it was kind of whitewashed, and I wanted to leave it like the whitewashed look, but it then did not look good with the brown marker that I was using. I just really did not like how the lines looked, so I ended up going over it with some white paint. So just keep that in mind as you're creating this, that you don't want like super harsh lines for the board part. So once I have that all fixed, I am going to go ahead and take some of my brown paint again to kind of go over the white part, because I just really did not like how that turned out. But once I have it all set up, here it is styled for you guys. This is a really fun game, and it's definitely high-end looking. I love wooden games. I think they make such a great table topper, so let me know what you think about this one. Going along with those same wooden blocks, we're going to make some dice. These actually turned out to be one of my, or the favorite project of the whole video, but I just covered them with that brown paint again, and then I put some dot stickers on all the dice to mimic an actual dice, and then I'm just using some white Waverly chalk paint, and I'm going over all the dice and removing the stickers. That is it for this one. It's super easy, but these are so adorable, and they are just my favorite of the video. Let me know what you think about these. For this wooden game, we're going to be creating checkers, and I had this wood board that I got from I believe it was the Dollar Tree. You can also get them at Hobby Lobby, or there's an option on Amazon. I covered it with some brown acrylic paint, and then I'm going to use my Buffalo check stencil, and I'm just going to use some white Waverly chalk paint and do the whole stencil with the white Waverly chalk paint. So I'm going to do the open squares, and then I'm going to do the little lines as well, because those end up being another space for the checkerboard. So once I get that all covered, then I'm going to create my checker pieces. You can also create chess. That's a little bit more in depth, but there is some tutorials online that you can create your own chess pieces. I'm using these half beads that I got from Amazon, and I separated them in half, and I'm going to put half of them into our brown acrylic paint, and I'm going to kind of let those sit in there to get a little bit of a stain. And then here's our checkerboard. I just added this really cute little canvas bag to hold the checkers, and I think this turned out adorable. Let me know what you guys think. For our last wooden game, we're going to be creating checkers. This was one of my more popular games. I actually sold this one online, but all I'm going to take are these wood planks that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to use that same brown paint, and I'm going to paint them all with my brown paint. So we're basically just staining these wood pieces. Once I get them all stained, I'm going to go ahead and start assembling my dominoes. So this is really easy. I just got an image online that showed me like how the dominoes should look. I'm using a Sharpie, and I'm just going to create each one of the dominoes in the pattern that they need to go. So here is a picture of what you need. You can take a screenshot of that, but this is the amount of dominoes that you're going to create and the numbers that are going to go on them. So I just followed this pattern through all of my wood planks. This is super easy, and I can't tell you, it turned out so high-end looking and just amazing. I added a wood box that I got from Hobby Lobby as the way to store them, and let me know what you guys think about these. For this project, we're going to create an oversized tray. I'm using a really large round from Hobby Lobby along with these like wood embellishments. I'm not really sure what they are, but we're going to use them as feet. So we're going to cover both the wood round and the feet that we're using with some white Waverly chalk paint. I also got this stencil at Hobby Lobby in a clearance area, but I used some elephant chalk paint. It comes in 2 pieces, so I went ahead and put one on one side and one on the other. You could put whatever you want here. You can also use polyurethane at the end to cover it if you want to use it for food. I'm not using it for food today. This was just going to be kind of like a tabletop coffee table decor, or you could put it in the middle of your table for decor purposes only. But once I have them all painted, I went ahead and used Gorilla Wood Glue to add them to the bottom to give them a secure hold. I covered it with a clear acrylic coat, and then here it is styled for you guys. Let me know what you think about this one. I have another video here for you if you want to keep on hanging out with me. These are some gift basket ideas that make perfect gifts for Christmas or really any time of the year. As always, wherever you are in your journey is a perfect place to start, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, friends!